This is Arvin Vora, founder of Vora Method and author of Lies, Damned Lies, and College Admissions. Let's take a look at this quote. This is actually from a communist leader, somebody whose politics are quite different from my own. But I think both he and I would agree with, well, this quote of his. All news is lies, and all propaganda is disguised as news. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with politics or just very, very gullible and trusting, this quote would be just extremely puzzling. How could all news be lies? How could propaganda be disguised as news? I mean, the news is events that happen. How could that possibly be propaganda, you might ask? Well, it's really, really easy to present the same fact in different ways, and those facts can be used as propaganda. Suppose that my goal, let's just use something really simple. Let's say we're talking about driving. Suppose my goal is to reduce speed limits and have more speeding tickets. Cool? Then I could report the news as follows. There was a major traffic accident where speeding is thought to be a cause, or I can say where speeding was a cause. And every time there's a speeding accident, an accident that involves any speeding, I can make sure to report that on the news. And anytime there's an accident that's caused by something else or where speeding was not possible, I just wouldn't mention it. And that would create an understanding among the populace that speeding is the thing that causes traffic accidents. Therefore, we need to reduce speeding. We need to have more tickets and all that kind of stuff, right? Let's say I'm still going to talk about traffic accidents, and now I have a different agenda. My agenda is I don't think that speed limits are a problem. I just want to get people who are like less athletically fit and have slower reflexes. Then I can present the same stories from a different perspective. I can say, once again, the driver did not have the reflexes needed to avoid the collision. Now, of course he didn't have the reflexes needed. It might not have even been possible, but I'm saying what's literally true. There was an accident. The driver's reflexes didn't allow him to avoid the collision. And if we start reporting the news like that over time, the idea would be that people would start to say, okay, we need to keep the sort of weak, the young, the elderly, the people who have any kind of, who are not like the most super elite athletes that don't have very fast reflexes. We got to keep them off the road. And again, I'm still telling the same story the same facts in each case, but telling them very differently. Now, let's take a more serious situation. Suppose we want to talk about something that's much more emotionally incendiary. We can talk about school shootings. It's probably one of the most emotionally difficult topics out there. And let's say that my goal, my agenda is to ban all guns. I'm going to say there's yet another gun death. There was another mass shooting with a gun. There was a mass shooting. I'm going to use the word shooting, because you only do shooting with a gun, right? Now, and that would be a way to set the stage for laws that put more restrictions on guns. Now, I could flip that around. And let's say I want to say that I want there to be no restrictions on guns. I can start using words like unarmed. An assailant was once again able to attack an entirely unarmed and undefended school. Several unarmed teachers were gunned down. Several unarmed students were gunned down. Again, now I'm starting to basically say that the issue here is that the people who are getting shot don't have enough guns. I could basically, what if I wanted to use this as a political tool to take people with mental illnesses and lock them up, right? Just get everybody who has any kind of a mental illness and put them in jail. I start telling the story like this. I say, yet again, we have somebody who had a mental illness that was out in public, that was not imprisoned, that wasn't held behind bars, a person with a mental illness that went and killed a bunch of people, killed a bunch of kids. Now, again, it's the story, the actual event that's being reported is the same event in each of these cases. But the way that I tell it in each case reflects different agendas. When you're looking at any nonfiction news, and honestly, when you're looking at most fiction for that matter, whether you're reading a book or like watching a news show or reading a newspaper or reading a news article, understand that there is always an agenda. Sometimes the agenda is very, very well hidden, But usually it's pretty not that hidden at all, and it's very, very easy to see if we start to think it this way. How does this relate to the SAT? A lot of questions in the SAT depend on you understanding the author's agenda, and it's one of the hardest things to see because most of us have been taught to not see it. Propaganda only works if the citizens are gullible enough, and most of you guys' education has been by design made to make sure you're gullible enough to be more easily manipulated through this kind of propaganda. Whenever you're looking at any nonfiction of any kind, see if you can find the agenda. There is always an agenda.